Ryan, what does it mean for you to do something from the heart, you know?
For me, doing it from the heart, it's just, I think we all have goals and dreams and desires and things we want to accomplish in life. But when I relate it back to the one of the things that I really had a lot of heart and passion for was racing. I remember at an early age, I saw it on TV. I rode around the house a little bit, or the track we had around the house, but I saw it on TV, and right away I thought, man, maybe I could do that for a living. And right then and there, that was the goal, that was the dream. I knew I couldn't be pro until I was 16, but I was like, you know what, I'm going to work towards that, and my family supported me in it. But it's just, nobody had to, you needed accountability, but nobody had to check up on me. I mean, especially as I got older into my teenage years, from the riding and the training and everything and putting in the time. And I definitely, it wasn't about making money. It was about, being able to live out that dream and do it with passion and excitement and enthusiasm. I was really, it just, I think we all have things that make us tick, and that for me was it. That was the thing that, like, you know what? I played all the ball in 6 sports, but that was the one thing that I was like, you know what, I thought about it day and night. I constantly wanted to be better, worked towards getting better. And I didn't, and I think the one thing that knowing uh, when you're passionate about something, you're doing it from the heart, you're effective as well. Like the saying that passion drives perfection. You
Yeah,
constantly work at it, and you constantly get better, and you practice at it. And I don't know, it never got old. I enjoyed the heck out of it. And I didn't
yeah,
need applause. I didn't need, if I felt like it, if you're doing it from the heart too, you could ride on that track, and you could, when, obviously you need a spectator in case you crash and get hurt, right?
yeah,
Or a parent or something. But I felt like I would have attacked the track like nobody was there, as if like somebody was there. It didn't matter who was there or what. I was gonna give it my all, and I enjoyed that. So
yeah. In a way, it was quite similar for me. I we next door to where I lived, my parents' house was a pub, and at that time we're talking half a century ago. We're talking in the 50s, and there was a motorcycle race. Was like an endurance race, and at the pub there was a checkpoint, and we lived kind of on the outskirts of the city of Brussels, and so they had this big loop, like about 100-mile loop, but they raced 24 hours. And when they came by, they had a card in their jacket, and that they
a punch
punch.
card.
Yeah, that was the checkpoint, along the road, and they would race for 24 hours. So I was up all night on the window looking for the bikes coming by, stopping and getting their car punch and taking off again. And that was the first thing that really, oh, this is unbelievable, these
Yeah.
motorcycles. And I thought they were like aliens almost. There was like, and then in my neighborhood, the kids of my neighborhood, I was one of the younger ones, and some of them already had motorcycles. You know, some of them, they were just neighbors, and I would hang around there because they had bikes, and they let me help clean their bikes. The guys would be cleaning their bikes on the weekend and polish their engine cases and things. And they let me touch their bike. That was like a big deal. And then one day, one of the older guys took me with him to see a race that was not very far away from us, and I remember this race was in a wooded area, and that was at the time that everybody used castor oil in their engines, and it made a really particular smell.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it was like that was the original racing smell, and it was just like that in car racing and all that. Castor oil was the top thing, the top lubricant at the time, and you could smell it from a mile away, and the sound of the bikes in the wood, it was like, wow, and it's like, so from then on I started dreaming about motorcycles, and then I started on my the days off from school and during the holidays, I started working in this motorcycle shop, cleaning bikes, doing small jobs, and to make pocket money. And I would change oil, fix tires, adjust the chain, and clean the bikes. And I was like 12 years old at the time. And that little dealership also serviced the bikes from the police station that was nearby. And at that time, the Belgian police all had blue Harley Davidsons. So I would walk on the bike, just like small little stuff. But I go test ride them all, up and down the street.
Make sure they all run.
This 12, 13-year-old on this big Harley, that's pretty funny. But yeah, from then on, that's all I could think of. I dreamt and dreamt about bikes and about racing, and so I saved every day that I had off, I would be at the motorcycle store, working and trying to make some money, and I kept asking my dad, I want to race, but that was not in our, he didn't have the money for that, to even consider it. And so by the time I was 16 years old, I had enough money to buy myself a bike, but I didn't know enough about it, So, but the bike I bought, I went to my first race, the thing broke down. Second race, the thing broke down. Third race, broke down again. And in Belgium, it rains a lot, so I was not so good with the electricals from the bike, and the bikes were not bulletproof like today also. So by then I was out of money, and the winter was coming again, and so I went back to work. And through my failures and all that, I had learned a little bit better about how to waterproof a bike, and over the winter, I bought an engine, a separate engine from a little road race bike that was pretty fast for the time, and then I modified the frame. I bought the forks from a road bike, like that had the cartridge system fork, which was unusable at the time. And so I gathered different parts, and I wrote a letter to Girling in England that I wanted a shock for these weight bikes and all that, and they actually answered me, which I really was surprised. And so they sent me a pair of shocks, and it was a really good deal. And so I built this bike, put it together, and then the next season I went to this little race, and I won my first race. And my dad worked in shifts, like 1 week he would work from 6 in the morning till 2 afternoon, and then the next week maybe 2 afternoon to 10 at night, and then the next week would be full night. So, and he always read the newspaper, and he always had cold feet for some reason, and he would be sitting by the fireplace and with his feet, on the fireplace and reading his paper. And so that was on a Monday, and he's reading his paper, and there was a little thing about this big in the paper, in our local paper. Roger da Costa wins junior race, and he looks up and, what is this, what is that you? Yeah. Well, what bike did you race? Oh, my bike? Oh, you have a bike? I say, yeah. Where is that bike? And I kept it at my friend's house because he didn't want me having anything to do. All he was telling me is that I had to go to school, I had to study, and I was pretty good at certain things that I was interested in. Yeah. And but not overall, I was not the best student. My brother was way better than me, and so I was, well, how come you did not tell me, And I said, well, you always told me I couldn't, I couldn't race and all that. Yeah, but you should have told me. And then, you're going to do more of this? Yeah, of course, And then the next race was like 2 weeks later, and then I overheard him talk. He had 2 friends from work with him. Yeah, my son, You know, he won, you know, like 2 weeks ago, and he's already.
That's
Yeah.
awesome.
So that's how he found out about me racing. That's pretty
Gosh,
funny. But
that's a good
yeah,
story.
once I started my first race, I'd done that first race. I wanted more and more and more.
Yeah.
You know, it's like that feeling was you're at the starting line and you feel like your heart is going to come out of your chest. You know, like what was your passion in your personal life for doing something from the art?
One of them, it kind of stems from my grandmother who had passed away. She dealt with cancer a lot of years. And I was really young at the time. You know, she passed away when I was 15 years old.
I remember you had that thing on your helmet.
Yeah,
Yeah.
every race.
Yeah.
That was kind of my thing. That it was in memory of Grandma, 2005. It wasn't ever a superstitious thing. It was just more that it was a really a big moment in my life because it was just a big driving force behind. It was a big awakening for me too, you know. And so every time I'd see that sticker, you know, whether she's with me out there, watching down, or it brought me back to the roots of, not the roots, but just those moments of, you know, and I don't want to use it as motivation, but remembering why I do what I do and how I get to do what I do for a living and how thankful I am and grateful. And I don't have cancer. I'm not sick, but
Did she like the part of your racing?
oh yeah, that was the other part too. You know, there was memories of her on the fence line at the local races. Like you could hear her screaming over the fence with her
Really?
waving her towel in her hand, and she was sick at the time in a lot of these races. But she'd come and support us. My mom, my grandpa, and grandma, they had a motorhome. They loved to travel the world. They had Harleys, so they'd bring the motorhome to the races, and it was like we'd get there Friday, practice Saturday, race Sunday. So it was a full weekend
Like
of,
a family outing.
yeah. So with her being a part of it, she was heavily a part of it. Not to mention, I wouldn't even have been where I was if it weren't for a lot from my grandparents too, because a lot of the financial support came from them as well.
Yeah.
You know, my dad and my grandpa owned a construction business, and Dad, they worked really hard, but it was successful. They did a good job, but still, my beginnings were humble. It's not like we had money to burn. You know, it was we were stressing half the time of where the money's going to come from. But so with my grandma being a big part of my life, and then obviously losing her to cancer, and then the platform that I was given and using it for a better, you know, what am I going to do with it? I always wanted to do something with that hurt, you know, if it was, if I was just going to sit. And I remember how helpless I was. I couldn't do nothing watching her when she was sick and going through all this stuff. It was just kind of like, what do I do but be there to support her? So I wanted to get more involved and be more active in helping others. And so after the passing of my grandmother, I wanted to, you know, use the platform that was given, bigger than racing, bigger than winning races and championships and all this stuff, but realize I've been put in a good position and I want to help give back. And that was something that from my personal experience going through that, I want to help others who are going through those experiences as well. And of course, I'm not a researcher. I don't know how to, the only thing that I can come up with is you know, helping raise funds, raising money for these kids that can be donated to the Children's Hospital and places like St. Jude, and that money can go to research that in return can help, you know, save these kids' life, you know. And I might be a small part of it, but you know, it takes all of us to make it happen. So that's something I'm really passionate about, and obviously that work will continue throughout the rest of my life. But it all came from obviously a very tough experience. And I mean, my grandma was a huge part of my life. I miss her, but it was, she wakened me up, you know. Before her, I was very fearful. I feared everything. I mean, from riding dirt bikes to, I wanted to be a pro, but I feared everything, and I was afraid. And it sounds pretty deep, but it was like I was afraid to fail. I was afraid to die. I was afraid of so many things. And then after that, and I don't, you know, of course not selfishly, I take it very serious, but it was just like, you know what? I'm not going to live my life in fear anymore. You know, life's too short. I want to make the most of it. And it was just a big wake-up call for me in all areas, just to pursue my dreams, to not be afraid to fail, to go after them, to stop, you know, see the good in everything, not the negative, you know. So it's big.
What you remember as when you did something really, really from the heart, you know?
You know, my whole racing career, I feel like I did do it from the heart.
Yeah.
I know I did it from the heart, because if I wasn't passionate about it, I wouldn't have saw out all the hard times. I mean, I would have quit through the tough times. I would have got discouraged and gave up, and that was not even an option to me. You know, I was going to see it out. I was going to get through it. I was going to make the most of it, and I wanted to make the most of it. I wanted to be successful in it, and I didn't want to fail because of what I didn't do, you know. I always wanted to make sure I did everything I could possibly do to make that happen. But you know, whether it was pursuing, you know, that was the goal from the start, and the passion developed right when I saw it on TV at 7. It was like, that's what I want to do. Of course, I thought it was a long shot. I was like, how is that ever going to happen? You know, but I didn't focus on how it was going to happen. I tried to focus on what I was going to do in my efforts, so that if it did happen, I was going to be ready. And I remember, like, when we were getting ready for, I didn't even know you were going to give me the ride, or, you know, I was going to be a factory rider at 16. But I remember it was about a year before I turned pro. I said, all right, just to be prepared, I'm going to start going to these tracks and doing my 2 35-minute motos a day. Yeah. Like, I got to be ready. I'd do my 2 motos in the day, and then I'd do an hour bike ride afterwards. And it's like, man, I'm crazy. I don't know what I'm doing, but I got to start somewhere. Yeah. And then the opportunity came, and it.
That's what I was just saying earlier. You know, you can wait for the perfect opportunity, but
yeah,
you better start doing something.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's not going to happen.
And that was exactly it. And yeah. Just like, instead of waiting, start planning, be prepared. And that was the lesson I learned in that. Like, I'm glad I started preparing. I'm not one who sits still easily, but just everything in my career, you know, just it was from the heart, whether it was on the track, off the track, whether it was working with my team, whether it was with my family. Every bit of my life wasn't just about winning a race either, you know, and being accountable for that. It was, how can I, later in life I learned this, was how can I encourage my team, you know? How can I help them be better people, you know, whether it was the mechanics, the suspension guys, you know, how, you know, us, how can we, you know? I realized at an early age that, and I learned this from Eldon, was about how, you know, you're steering the ship and everybody's looking towards you. It's kind of like you were saying, as that rider.
Yeah, as a champion. And
yeah, you know, and if you're down, if you're this way, then you're not really motivating these guys to want to be better. So I just wanted to do it with all my heart. So that's kind of, I tried to pursue everything that I did with that attitude.
When things did not, when there was adversity, like some issues, I remember Las Vegas, when your shifter got bent so it was unusable, you got actually better.
Yeah.
Sometimes I felt that we should almost create a problem before the race or something, because you would elevate your performance, you know. When everything was perfect and all that, you were good, but when something went wrong, then you went a step better. Yeah.
But you know what I learned from that, and it took me 7 years. I didn't realize it till probably 2014. That I thought of that scenario. I thought about, why is it always better when something's wrong? And that's because I take the pressure off myself, because now I'm like the underdog.
Exactly. Yeah.
And I realized right then and there I was sabotaging my own success.
I remember Anaheim with the air suspension.
Yeah.
When the suspension lost pressure just at the gate.
Yep.
Yeah.
Too many expectations. Too much. I was putting too many.
And then the next thing, you win.
Yeah,
you know?
It was. You know, so I'm glad I learned from that. But I agree. I would. Yeah. It was almost harder if everything was going better, because then I was expecting it.
What's going on? You know, something must be going wrong.
Yeah, But I couldn't give up. I could not, even when the shifter bent, I could not pull off the track. I couldn't live with myself if I pulled off the track.
Yeah, that's
I just couldn't give up.
A big quality, and really a quality that I admire, you know. Like people that quit is like racers that quit or competitors that quit, give up. It's like, come on, man.
Yeah.
This,
No, I know.
yeah,
And if you're doing it from the heart, you won't quit. You won't
right.
give up. You know,
Yeah.
that's the thing. And so, Raj, for all these people watching and doing it from the heart, what's the big takeaway?
I think is doing things with full commitment, you know, let loose, uh, go for it, you know, and if you do that, the chances are high that things are gonna turn out well, and that's how you're gonna be the best at what you can do, and just do it, you know, just go for it. If the end goal in your mind, and go for it, and not hold back, not just no restriction, you know, just do it, and take the chance that you may fail, but by taking the chance and letting loose and committing, the chance of success is much higher.
Yeah. You're more likely going to fail being afraid to fail than
Yeah.
you are if you go for it.
Yeah.
And it was so true. And it proved true so many times.
Yeah. What is your one biggest takeaway of doing things from the heart?
Definitely doing it from the heart. You're going to see it out. I mean, I know that, you know, when you're passionate about what you do and you're committed, like you were saying, you're not afraid to fail and you go for it, you're going to see it out through the good and the tough, and in the end, you're going to get the end result, and I think feel much more satisfaction. And the same goes with if you're not doing it from the heart. You start something and it's easy to give up. It's easy to get discouraged. It's easy to say, well, maybe that's not for me, you know. And if you're truly passionate about what you're doing and doing it from the heart, you're going to see it all the way through.
Yeah.